Happy Tuesday, Striver. I hope you woke up today with just an absolutely mint, good attitude. A fresh attitude, a willingness to take on this day, a reminder that you get to shape your own perspective of the world today. You don't have to accept what everyone else tells you about how you should feel or what it should be like. You don't have to buy into the big grand narrative that everything's so terrible, but rather you get to have that fresh set of eyes that sees the world from a place of presence and good intentions and joy. That this day you remind yourself that you can shape that positive mindset. You can choose that great attitude. You can aim your focus, your thoughts, your intention, your very mindfulness and presence in the moment towards feeling good, towards projecting good energy to the world, towards a higher level of consciousness and being that you feel more aliveness. I hope this day, this simple Tuesday, has greeted you with that, or that simply, if it didn't, you choose it. Today, I'd like to take on a topic that doesn't feel too positive for a lot of people, but I hear about it all the time, and I see so many great people, so many people who could achieve greatness in their life, fall prey and victim to this lower level thinking and feeling that just completely tears them away from positive relationships and from that even that sense of striving with the community or a sense of humanity. And that is jealousy. That thing that happens when we compare ourselves or wish different of others, or we feel like they're not to be trusted, or that everyone's awful, or those who achieved something bigger than we did, had it so much better than we did, and it's not fair, and I hope they crash and burn. Whatever you call jealousy, when I say the word to you, don't you know what that means? Like, we all know what it means. And we all know how it's so poisonous to our sense of life, our connection with others, and our chance of progress. So I'd love to take it on to you today. And don't worry, I don't preach about this from some on-high perspective. And I think that everyone falls prey to feelings of jealousy at certain times in their life. And sometimes, there's people in our lives it's hard to trust, or there's people in our lives who've done bad things, and it can really ramp up that feeling. But there are other feelings to choose. There are other emotions we can cultivate. And there are other ways of thinking and being that even if there are some around us that haven't earned our trust, we don't have to be angry, vindictive, hurtful, or also debilitated, discouraged, hurt in such a way that we can't climb out of it. And of course, if you know my origin story that got me into all of this personal development work and all this work in psychology and human behavior change, it began because I was a 19-year-old kid who was devastated after my first love in my life cheated on me. And I had been jealous of her. And when she cheated, of course, I had this just terrible feeling of jealousy and awfulness in my life. And there's been parts of my life too when I was climbing the corporate ladder in my 20s where I was jealous of the persons above me on the corporate ladder who were earning more and had nicer cars. I was jealous of other people at certain parts of my life who had, best-selling books, or, more clients than I did, or more followers than I did. And, those feelings, these can come like waves, and hopefully we all become conscious enough to recognize that not many of those are helpful feelings. And those aren't feelings that we want to hold on to or cultivate in our lives. And, after my initial terrible bout with depression and suicide because of many of those feelings from that first breakup, I decided I didn't want those in my life anymore. And I can count on one hand over the last 20 years the number of times I felt jealous about anything. Not because I'm amazingly whatever. It's just because I decided it was so painful to me at the age of 19 when I really felt it. I was like, I never want to feel this again. Let me study some spirituality. Let me study some personal development. Let me dig deep on psychology, and let me really deal with these feelings and the way that I'm labeling the world and others that hurt. And it was through that work and through obviously being in a position where I have to teach about these topics a lot that I found a new positive way to look at things when I could easily have the emotion drag me into jealousy. My brain jumps in and dictates the meaning, changes the labels, and decides on a different course of feelings. Because see, remember, I'm always teaching there's a difference between emotion and feelings. An emotion, it's automatic, it's physical, it just rises up, it just kind of takes us over. We can all feel just a sudden heat of anger, we can feel a sudden intense passion, we can feel a huge sudden hurt, or an emotion can be more subtle too. And emotions can be positive, and some of them can be negative, and we are the ones who grab onto them, define them, talk in our minds about them, label them, amplify them. And as we define the meaning and hold on to an emotion, it becomes a feeling. But we can short circuit that, and we can feel the emotion and choose not to let it grab hold of us, not be attached to that emotion. Isn't that so much of our work in mindfulness, in meditation, in higher conscious thinking, is learning that what we immediately sense or our emotions, they're true, they're feelings, they happen. We don't have to push them down, avoid them, pretend they don't happen, but we also don't have to grab hold of them and let them run away with our mind and our heart. Jealousy is usually an emotion that runs away with our mind and our heart. And so what do we need to learn? Well, I think a couple things come into play here. And one of them, certainly for me, was to stop assuming that anyone, anywhere, anytime, has life completely easy. And what I mean by that is often we're jealous of the success of other people. We're mad because, you know what, they're more social than we are. They're more wealthier than we are. They get along with others better. They seem to have it all made. And we become jealous of them and we think, oh, that person doesn't know my pain. That person has it all. They're so easy. And we forget that every person carries a burden that we don't know about. And every person, more than you know, has suffered. And when you realize that, you stop judging so much. Because the first step into a big problematic jealousy is judgment. In fact, research has shown that people who make more snap judgments against others tend to become more vindictively jealous later on. It's like the first gate to jealousy is a pattern of behavior called judgment. That's why I'm always telling people, judge less, feel better. The less you judge others, the less likely you are to befall into a lot of other negative ranges of feelings. And so judge less, feel better. Don't judge successful people or people who seem to have more than you. Don't get jealous of them because they had their own path. And you own your path. You own your path. It's less about what is everyone else doing? Oh, I'm jealous of her. Look at how purity she is. I'm jealous of him. Oh, look at all the success. Oh, I'm jealous of both of them. They're beautiful and successful. Damn them. It's less about that. And more about, what are you doing today? What are you choosing today? What are you working towards and demonstrating today? So taking ownership of your own journey versus judging or comparing others. When you get rid of judgment and then comparison, you're a whole lot less likely to become jealous of someone's success, as an example. Of course, some people say, well, no, Brendan, but no, I'm jealous of my spouse or my partner because, they're flirtatious with other people. Well, that's a different thing, right? That's an issue of whether or not you've chosen this person in your life and whether or not you've given them your trust and whether or not they have earned it. But let's say they haven't earned it yet, or they've had problems in the past. You can still make logical decisions about trust with that person without being jealous of them. Does that make sense? That was a hard something I had to learn in my teens. It's like, oh wait, I can be, logical about how much trust I give this person. I can be thoughtful in my conversations with them. I can be honest with them about the emotions I feel when they're with other people at a party and I'm not there. I can be, logical and candid about how I feel if there's been a brokenness of trust. But I don't have to feel jealous. And we know that jealousy, at some point, we choose it. Why? Because when we are jealous, what it means is we're hurt. And now we've taken that hurt and we've used it to sharpen the knife of our insecurity and given ourselves the permission to use that knife in a vindictiveness towards someone else. That's what really jealousy does. I mean, as you always heard, jealousy is just a self-poison. Like we're the ones doing that. It doesn't mean that we, again, don't have boundaries, don't try to establish trust, don't have difficult conversations, and don't have to learn from other people's behavior. That's old Maya Angelou quote is, believe who people are the first time. I didn't say that quote quite right, but you get the idea. It's like, okay, I'm going to learn from this person's behavior here. But jealousy adds hurt and vindictiveness to that feeling. And we have to be cautious of that. We can be hurt without becoming vindictive and hoping for something terrible to befall another person. Now, I know you might be hearing all this and say, that's not what jealousy means to me, Brendan. And I know that. And what I try to do in this topic is try to talk around many different concepts, because some people, jealousy, it just means trust in a relationship. To some people, it's a feeling they have when they see other people have more, be more, succeed more than them. But sometimes jealousy is just an in-the-moment thing of wishing that you had something other people have. Like you can have envy, like, gosh, I wish I had that too. Jealousy is often, I wish I had that and they didn't. Does that make sense? Like jealousy is like, I don't want that for them. That's a vindictiveness. Where sometimes wishing that we had things, we can all wish we had things. I can see someone drive by in a nice car and think, oh, that's a beautiful car. I'd love to have a car like that. I'd love to learn how they earned a car like that. And that's a positive intent, right? Good for them. That's an awesome car. Jealousy is, they probably just didn't even pay for that car. Who do they think they are? I wish I didn't have that car. And you wish something ill towards another. So how do we get over jealousy? I think some simple things. Number one, we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people. And I think as soon as we start doing that, a lot of good things happen. We own our own journey. We stop judging other people so quickly, recognizing that on their journey, they've also suffered. We take ownership of our own feelings, of our own realities. We take ownership of our own behaviors in relationships. And as we own more of our own thoughts, feelings, desires, and needs, and our own journey, we don't compare ourselves as much. And because we are taking ownership of it, we can also have empathy for the suffering that we have, the difficulties and struggles we have, and we don't pass them out to others so much because we recognize in a compassionate and empathetic way, they struggle too. So less comparison and less judgment. Another big move is you got to drop the ego. Because jealousy is often, well, they shouldn't have that. I'm better than them. I deserve more than them. So I don't want them to have it. And I also want to be superior here. That superior mindedness, that's the ego. There's always a lot of ego trapped up in jealousy. In jealous fights, jealous arguments, anytime there's any jealousy in the room, there is some ego in that room. It is always something I've seen to be true. And so we've got to drop the ego. We're not superior. We're not better. That doesn't mean we're not deserving of honesty and trust and commitment from others who've given that. Yes, sure, we can expect it from our spouse and our partners who said that. There's, these baseline expectations in relationships, especially when it's a monogamous type of relationship. Of course, we should expect them to honor that word. And again, if they break it, learn from their behavior, have the candid conversations, and you can choose whether or not this person's in your life without the jealousy. But make sure that your ego doesn't get tied up in that warfare. Make sure that you're willing to recognize that you're not perfect. And that doesn't mean you have to please everyone or give everyone tons of room to run all over you. But what it means is you don't wish ill for other people because you think you're better than them. And right now, in almost every area of the world in which we see a lot of negativity, vitriol, hate, and divisiveness, it's because one group or one person thinks that they are better than. I always know, as soon as better than enters the room, the story of we together leaves the room. Last idea is making sure that you don't have ill intent for other people. Instead, you have success wishes for them. You want nothing but joy and health and abundance and goodness for other people. And when you have that, you're less likely to fall down the stairs of jealousy. You're more likely to hope that someone has good things. Oh, I hope she's got a good car, good life, good kids. I hope that she succeeds in her career. I hope that she has abundance at this. I hope she gets the most views and likes and followers. I hope she gets brand deals. I hope he succeeds at whatever he is doing. I hope that they stay healthy. Like learning to walk by others and wish them positive intent, consciously, consistently, having that self-talk in your head. The more you have that type of self-talk, positive wishes for other people, my friend, the less the vindictiveness and the ego and the judgment and the negative comparisons and the ill intent happens. You get to condition your mind by the very things you wish for other people. That's something we can be conscious of today. If you enjoyed this session today, please go in your journal and maybe capture some thoughts about what is it for you? How do you think of this topic of jealousy? Have you seen it in your life before? What's made you feel it? Next time you feel it, what will you do? Have you seen it with other people? They've been jealous maybe of you. What did you learn from that situation? This is something that I know can be very triggering or upsetting to people. And yet, just like anything else in personal development, we have to do the hard work. We have to look in the mirror. We have to think about our lives and our relationships and capture those things. If you're in a place where you keep finding yourself in negative emotions or, stuck in past traumas related to this topic, as always, I encourage everybody in the GrowthDay community to seek a therapist. If you need to work through issues that have happened in this topic or regard, don't ever feel negative about it. Rather, do the work. It's all about doing the work. If you can do that on your own or with a coach or with a therapist, that's always something we'll champion and support here. We all got to learn to work through our own issues. And this one brings up a lot for people. And I hope that by just discussing it and sharing some different examples and ideas, like I said, I'm not here to preach, but hopefully sharing some insights about what we've learned around personal development over the years. I appreciate you being part of GrowthDay. And yes, we'll take on the tough topics and the inspirational topics every single time right here in the Daily Fire, because I believe it to be true. No matter how hard it can be to talk about difficult discussions and topics, even like this one, the truth still remains. Every day is a great day to grow, and we're doing it together.